Está começando.
Bom, então, boa tarde a todos e todas que estão nos ouvindo, e boa tarde também às pessoas que estão presentes aqui no auditório da Faculdade de Educação, para esse encontro, que teremos aqui duas professoras da África do Sul, conversando conosco, mas antes de passar a apresentação, eu gostaria de fazer uma notificação às pessoas que estão remotamente, nos vendo pelo YouTube. Para vocês terem a certificação, será necessário que vocês façam a inscrição e que depois assinem, né, um formulário, tragam num formulário os dados de vocês para que vocês possam receber a certificação, ok? Me desculpem, eu acabei não me apresentando. Meu nome é Mônica Pesato Pinaza, professora da Faculdade de Educação. Estou aqui ao meu lado com a professora Adriana, que é do Centro de Línguas aqui da faculdade, e ela vai me auxiliar com a questão do inglês, portanto, está aqui conosco nesse encontro. Eu vou passar a palavra para o professor Aguinaldo, que é presidente da CCINT, aqui da Faculdade de Educação, e depois voltamos, então, aqui ao auditório. Por favor.
Okay, so the Professor Monica Pinaza was just introducing some brief guidelines for people that are attending online on the YouTube channel, how they should proceed to have the certificate of attendance here. So now we are formally start this presentation. That is a pleasure for us to have so distinguished professors from universities from South Africa. One of these invited people that we are having here, and you can see on this screen, is Professor Fumane Nare from the University of Western Cape, from Cape Town in South Africa, and also Professor Nzandile Elu from the University of Free State in Bloemfontein in South Africa. It's just to remind you that we at the School of Education, we have an agreement cooperation with the University of Free State, and we are under discussion right now with Professor Fumare to have something similar like that, an MOU with the Western Cape University in South Africa. It's really a pleasure for us to fostering this kind of cooperation between our institutions, the South Global Pact. So the colleagues, Professor Adriana and Professor Monica, will introduce your bio for the audience. We have a hybrid session. We have people in person in the auditorium of the School of Education, but also we have some people from different states in Brazil and maybe abroad from South Africa also, I hope so, on the YouTube channel. Yeah, so we can start right now, and I would like to wish you a sawabo and to say Nkosi and thank you and Nyabongagakulo for being here, and we can just start our cooperation, our integration of this South Globe of the world right now. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your effort. Unfortunately, it was not possible to be here in person this time, but next time for sure you will be here at the School of Education visiting us. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well,
muito obrigado.
muito obrigada.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to receive the Professor Fumane and Professor Nzandile, e eu vou pedir licença para que a apresentação mais ampliada seja feita pela colega Adriana.
So I will introduce you both, professors. So Professor Fumani Portia Nahari, I hope I have pronounced correctly. You can correct me later, please. Is an associate professor in the Department of Educational Psychology at the University of the Western Cape and coordinator of the PGCE program. Her work focuses on rural education, inclusive and enabling learning environments, and psychosocial support for both teachers and learners. Through participatory and multimodal pedagogies such as photo voice, collage, and drawing, she strives to disrupt traditional hierarchies of knowledge and create inclusive spaces where students' voices, experiences, and cultural wisdom are recognized as legitimate contributions to collective learning and transformation. In 2017, she was named a Child and Youth Institute laureate by Codesria. She convened the Participate South Africa, Germany, and Zimbabwe International Youth Exchange Project 2020-2022, advancing SDG 8, decent work and economic growth in marginalized communities. Professor Kanari served as the 2024 chairperson of the Education Association of South Africa, IASA. She co-edited the book Successful Pathways of the Well-Being of Black Students, 2023. In recognition of her academic leadership and impact, she was named one of Golden Key, Southern Africa's top 300 influential leaders in May 2025. Professor Zandili currently serves as an associate professor at the University of Free State in Department of Education, Management, Policy, and Comparative Education. Her niche area is on collaboration and Ubuntu incorporated in leadership for sustainability of leadership, teaching, and learning in rural schools and in higher education. She was selected as an emerging scholar, selected in UFS Learning and Teaching Fellowship Program 2022-2024. She was awarded a Woman Academic Advance Program 2024 to support her on her professionate journey. She was also an awardee of Erasmus plus International Credit Mobility Program in 2023, and she visited to teach comparative and international education in Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona in Spain in January 2024. She's a member of EASA and EASA SIG coordinator for leadership and management. Zambili is a staunch believer of collaboration and Ubuntu. She was a Tutuka grant holder of 2019 and 2021 in a project where she collaborated with colleagues at the University of the Free State and Walter Sisulu University. She was one of the 3 World Education Research Associations, WERA, International Research Networks, IRIN, conveners, and is still a member. Zandili has also published in accredited journals and has attended both national and international conferences. Zandili has graduated 7 PhDs, 12 MADs, 30 B holders, and thousands of undergraduate students. So please, Professor Fumani, please, welcome.
Thank you so much. Obrigado, boa noite, bonjour. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Obrigado.
Yes. No, thank you so much for such a kind introduction. And it's really a pleasure. It's really very humbling, and within the short space of time, to be given an opportunity to share our story, because We grew up with stories which tend to be education from some Western construction, but we have been learning since we were born. And I really want to express on our behalf the gratitude for being given this moment. We so wanted to be there physically, but we think this is just the beginning of an exciting journey that we will be working and walking together. Our grandmothers used to remind us that if you want to go far, go with people. If you want to go fast, go alone. So that's the best way to describe ourselves. So on that note, I think my sister would also say a few words of thank you, and then we can start our presentation. And Arnoldo, you will be able to share the screen from your side.
Ok.
Yeah, they are going to share the screen.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Enkosi, siyabulela. Sibamba ngazo zozibini. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be part of this community. We're now thinking of ourselves as Sao Paulo community. It's such an honor for us. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, so our topic, we were given at least groundwork to say, can we share about leadership in South Africa? And we tweaked a little bit so that it makes more relevant to the current work that we are already doing, but also to share some of the frameworks that are currently shaping and continue to shape the leadership aspects within the educational context. Like it has been indicated, I come from psychology, Zandi comes from leadership and management. And and we are women in higher education, Black women in higher education who were previously disadvantaged, and we come from rural areas, which is still a challenge to many of our learners who cannot have access to higher education. So the issue of leadership is very important. The story of our being and becoming academics and professors, it's something that it's celebrated because we grew up not knowing, we couldn't see representation we knew professors to be white, male, old, So for us, we represent our ancestors. We represent those marginalized kids who were never given chance to learn and become even, teachers. So this is the story that we carry everywhere we go, to say we don't come as alone, we come as thousands, because we represent our mothers, grandmothers, our ancestors, and the future generation, those girls which are still denied opportunity to access education. So in a nutshell, that's what shaped our topic, and that's what we're going to share with you. And we're just going to give just an overview of the leadership, because leadership has been evolving in the context of South Africa, particularly after our first democratic leadership had to be rethought, had to be reconceptualized, because it was still influenced by the apartheid system, so of which it still has a challenge. But in the interest of time, we are going to talk about the hopes that brought leadership in education through the lens of democracy, which took place in 1994. And I'm going to hand over to Zandile, who will be having a dialogue. So we don't want it like it's a lecture. So we talk to each other, and that's how we're going to facilitate our talk today. And over to you, to Zandi.
Thank you so much, Fumi. As Fumi has already indicated, I'm Zandile. I'm in the University of the Free State in Department of Education Management.
Sumiu o som. Elas fecharam.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I mean,
Excuse me.
Oh, good that you have seen, Professor, please. You can restart.
So I was saying, as my colleague, a friend and a sister has already introduced me, I'm from the University of the Free State, of course, and we just want to share about South African education leadership. We're gonna give you a synopsis of the structure, but we are not going to go deep on the policies and that. We wanna link our research to the educational leadership that we're talking about. And then we have this structure, as you see on that slide, we have the structure in front of us where it starts with the national level, which means up there we have the national level where the Minister of Basic Education is leading there. And then after the Minister of Basic Education, on the other hand, we have the Minister of Higher Education, that is the higher institution, but we are not going to talk about that. We also have provincial level where we have the MEC for education and the district level where we have district directors. That's just a highlight. Otherwise, we want to talk about the school level. The school level, it's where in the school level, but particularly in the rural areas, that's where we are talking about educational leadership in rural schools. So at the level of schools, we have principals, we have deputy principals, we had head of departments. In fact, they are now called departmental heads. So that's the group or the team that is leading in the schools. And then we also, so the school level part, the principal, deputy principal, departmental heads, they are the ones who are leading and managing the administrative part of the school. And then we have the school governing body. The school governing body is the body that is governing the school. That's the structure of the school governing body that, because of time, I don't want to get through to this as such, but I want to say all these public schools in South Africa are governed by the school governing body, which includes all those structures that we see there. You may move the slides on the settings of what we want to talk about. We want to present to you and let you understand our position in education leadership and also the education psychology. So we situated this presentation within the critical context of rurality. As we have said, we grew up in the rural areas, hence our interest is much more on the leadership and the psychology part in the rural areas. As our research focuses specifically on education experience in economical and poor areas, we recognize that these communities face significant challenges, including limited staff, severe resource constraints. Although the official education leadership structure presented in the previous slides, where you were seeing all those structures that we mentioned there earlier, reflects the necessary national framework the reality in the rural areas in South African schools requires a highly adaptive approach where care and support of everyone is part of the leadership in schools. The existing constraints mean that the localized leadership must move beyond mere compliance to ensure organizational sustainability, effective curriculum delivery, and human development. As we have indicated that we started this as a team, me and my sister next to me, we then grounding our experiences as emerging academics that highlights how school leadership, care, and support are fundamentally shaped and adapted to the sustainable rural enhanced care and leadership, which is the Saracal model that we are working on. As I've indicated, that we, as we started, we working in the rural areas. You may move the slides. I just want to show how rural schools in the before 1994, how they were. As a young scholar and a young educator, that's how that picture depicts how I started as a young primary teacher. At the age of 30, I became a departmental head after working for 10 years as a post-level 1 school teacher. And this is the situation that I came to a school where I was employed, thinking that I'm coming to a school, but I was told that you are going to conduct your classes under that tree. So I just got a picture that shows where other countries had the same problem of conducting classes under the tree. So that's not where I was teaching, but this, I can relate to this situation. So what I am saying is that in those years, at that age of 30, when I became a leader, one of the leaders, though I was not at the top there as a departmental head, the schools were it was such a small school with 6 teachers in the beginning and ended up having about 592 learners, and the staff then grew also to 11 teachers. In that school, I was leading, teaching, and learning across grade R to grade 6. I oversaw all subjects, conducted class visits, and implemented the integrated quality management system. Within limited infrastructure, I worked closely with the community and they genuinely share the communities that genuinely share their houses or room as classrooms after the discussions that we had with them, that we are not going to be teaching under the trees while we are in a community where people have got houses in their spaces. So I manage all the administrative tasks manually and organize meetings for parents. As parents, they were illiterate and they did not know anything about how to take care of their kids. So in those meetings, we would demonstrate how you prepare your child before coming to school. So what happened, what we are doing, we are saying Ubuntu, it's what grounded the kind of leaders that we are today. So for us to understand the Ubuntu as leadership or ethos, we need to understand that Ubuntu-based educational leadership is grounded in values of compassion, respect, interdependence, rationality, and restorative justice. Ubuntu emphasizes collective well-being and ethical relation over individual competition. In the post-1994, education in South African context needed healing, inclusivity, and restoring human dignity within offered by Ubuntu framework in education. Practically, Ubuntu leadership reflected true community engagement, shared distributed leadership, mentorship, caring school cultures, and nurturing collaborations. So this is what we are saying. I'm gonna give over to Fumane to take over with the psychological position.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Zandi. Yeah, so I think that the emphasis of rurality has always been looked through the deficit lens, which continues to exclude many learners, even the academics coming from marginalized communities. And that was a construction that was made by the previous system. So the positive psychology, again, particularly the asset-based approach, it provides a frame of mind where we argue that everybody is born with abilities. Plurality, it's not just a space of deficit. It's a space, it's a generative space. It's a space where there's vibrancy, and people have been resilient with limited resources, like my sister has indicated here. So the two theories really gel well, very well, because we are not looking at us as being fixed. We are not looking at our learners coming from these marginalized communities as problems to be solved. So that's why the notion of positive psychology provides a very fundamental space to understand the work that we do and the research and in teaching. So the synergy of the two, the next slide, is very important. So when you look at positive psychology, particularly the asset-based approach, it contrasts the medical model, because that's what was dominating in these communities. And when you look at some of the examples from the asset-based approach, is a bottom-up approach, is a class half full. We don't see a class half empty. Whereas the previous and the most of the Western scholars, they see rurality and other marginalized communities in Africa as a class half empty. Therefore, they need to be filled. So we are arguing that the class is half full. People in the rural context, they are born with assets, including their own indigenous knowledge systems that were silenced deliberately because of the education system that prevailed. So the synergy of the two, please move forward, Arnaldo. So bringing Ubuntu and positive psychology together. The next slide. Yes, yeah. So it centers, for example, the rural children are not the problem, but they are made to be facing challenges by the context in which they find themselves. So when we look at the problem, it's not within the child. The problem might be within the system. So we need to create and recreate systems so that we can allow every learner and every student to learn and to thrive. So there's been quite a shift in terms of understanding the rural context, understanding care and support, including leadership in the rural context, where we don't see them as a problem to be fixed, but as people with enabling, and we need to create enabling environments. Yeah, so I think that's the theoretical context for the work that we do. The next slide, please, Angelo. So the asset base, again, it's appreciative inquiry. It draws from positive psychology again. So I'm sure from this picture you can actually see how asset-based approach is depicted. We look at what we have got. So we start from where people are instead of looking what is missing, which is a deficit forecast. So that's the emphasis of the work that we do, to say, how do we strengthen leadership so that they can strengthen care and support? We are looking at what people and starting from what people have, rather than looking at what is missing, and so that we can be able to fix them. So this is just, again, a pictorial aspect. So from the leadership perspective, again, the Ubuntu, it's about accountability. It's about mobilizing the resources. So as a leader, these frameworks, they position the leader as a go-getter, not somebody who's waiting for the donations, who's waiting for the problems to be solved from outside. So it works from the inside outside approach. And I think Zandi made a typical example that during her tenure as a school principal in that context, she was able to communicate with all humbleness, to communicate with the community. And the community, through that respect, mutual respect, they were able to provide the spaces for the learners to be given a shelter so that teaching and learning can take place. So bringing these two frameworks together really provided that what you call the psychosocial ethical paradigm in order to understand the challenges and the opportunities of rural contexts. Yeah, so the synergy between Ubuntu, therefore, and positive psychology forms a holistic, what we call a holistic African rural-centric framework. I think we're on the next slide for the viewers out there. It provides that holistic African rural-centric framework for understanding and strengthening educational partnership for sustainable care, support, and leadership. So Ubuntu provides that ethical relationship, focusing on how people connect, collaborate, and coexist. And positive psychology augments that by offering the cognitive capacities and cultural grounding, by emphasizing on the strengths, including the inner abilities. And I think that's our argument in terms of the work that we do and that we continue to do. So we just want to share again the work that we have done. So we are again drawing from qualitative methodologies, particularly the participatory methodologies, because we are dealing with people who were regarded as illiterate. Sometimes the work that we have done, we have worked with young people. So in one case, I use arts-based methodology because we believe that knowledge is constructed, it's co-constructed, and it's not about written and communicated words only. So in olden days, people have been communicating through drawings. So that's why we draw from methodologies that are relevant to the context in which we work on. And I think for us, that's one of the things that we also are looking into. We need to decolonize the methodologies when we work with the rural people, because if we use the deficit, we'll only look at them as illiterate. But if we use the asset-based, then asset-based approach will help you to understand that it's not only through interviews. In the case of rural kids, we use the collage, the drawings, the photo voice, and the like. So through our project, which is still an ongoing at infancy stage, these are some of the work that we have done. So our project is called Sustainable Rural Enhanced Care and Leadership, and we emphasize enhancing rural school leadership for sustainable, inclusive, and learning environment. We, through our work, as a community, we want to, or we aspire to build, or we are committed and intentional to build psychosocial systems that prioritize the leaders, the teacher, and the learner's well-being. through our work, we foster community involvement as key enablers, not as problems to be solved. And in that way, we become co-constructors of knowledge with the communities in the rural settings. Yeah, so I think we just want to share some of the work that we have done. One of them, I don't know how much time we have, but there is a book that a chapter that we did with one of our collaborators, Dr. Mahasani. The next slide, he's a very prolific researcher in leadership also. And we are looking at how do leaders in a rural context of Lesotho turn around a low-performing school, into a successful school. And then we look at through the lens of asset-based approach. And this was published under the book titled International Perspectives on Leading Low-Performing School. And then from it was quite a very fascinating study here because the mapping of asset revealed even where communities, they play together, they come to school and play with the learners, so the sports become a communal effort. So some of the community members will be invited, and they will, at the end of the celebration, there are no trophies, the trophies that we normally see on TVs or in the urban spaces. But in this context, the winning team was given a cow, So when you talk about asset, we don't necessarily talk about the material things or the sheep. They will slaughter the sheep. So that's how the asset was conceptualized. So as much as asset-based approach is also drawn from the Western literature, but they could actually recognize their own assets and define their own assets. Like I make an example that the winning team was given between the schools was a cow, and then the cow will be slaughtered, and it's a celebration of everybody. So that's one aspect of showing how Ubuntu and asset-based approach or positive psychology can help us to reshape and enhance leadership within the rural context. The next project, the big project that is still undergoing in terms of analyzing the data, had to do with the Tutuka grant. And I'm glad Arnaldo understands the National Research Foundation. So Prof. Zandile won that award for I think the past 3 or 4, past 3 years, where she was given funding, and I was part of that. I came as a big sister, so to say. But from that project, again, there are some outputs. And what is more important in this case is that she provided funding for some of our marginalized students. There was a student who was supposed to do the master's but didn't have funding. So through that Ubuntu, again, through care and support, Prof. Zandi could have chose to use her money for other things, but she made sure that she exercised agency, because our position and positionality from Ubuntu and asset-based approach is to ensure that we create and nurture spaces. So from that research, she found, she funded 1 PhD, 2 master students, and one of the master student was my student, where I was supervising at honors level, and she provided funding for those students. And then she took them even to the conference, because if we really want to transform, we need to move from hope to action. So I'm sure she can talk much better on that one. Yeah, so those are some of the projects, and the jersey that you see there is from the school that we did the project in that rural context. and she can share a little bit on that one. I'm aware of time, but I think you can share about how the school, reflected upon the being part of the NRF.
Thank you, Fumi. This was quite an amazing project, and it was in a very difficult time because it was during that time of COVID, and we ended up with this one school. All other schools fall out because of COVID, and this was a school that was in deep rural areas, and the working together as us, as the researchers, going to those schools and to this school in that deep rural area and fitting in there and trying to fit in like a glove and become a family so that they could be able to communicate with us without the fear of communicating with in the rural areas. Maybe they would call learned people. Some of them are not even used to having doctors in academia and professors. And in this, that's where, especially this project was a project that has got about 12 people, and 5 of them were students. So we have those groups, and in there were so many aspects that when we started in 2019, they saw them as challenges. But as the project goes on and on, they then had a way of looking at the challenges and finding solutions and then implementing what we were doing together. And that's where we had an understanding that when you have a challenge, that challenge, you can turn it around to be a one of the to be a what's
Opportunity.
to be an opportunity, I should say, because there was one story that when we first came, they talk about how it was difficult for grade 12 learners to attend the evening studies because of robbery and sort of violence that was in the community. But because they realized they had a problem, and then we sit and talk, how do you think you can solve this problem? We started to rake in the community, and the community, some of the community members were working there without being paid as security to come in the evening. Those parents would come in the evening to take this to walk with the students from school to their places. And they sort of show how they are mobilizing the resources, even the resources that they have in the community that they never thought they can use. Like they did not have police and securities in the community, but they use some of the people who were interested in the success of the school. So I think that's one thing that I can mention. And that makes me I'm reminded that when we are coming out with these stories, we are not presenting and talking about these stories so that people can say, oh, shame, that's where they are coming from and all that. But we are trying to show that this can also shape the leaders that we have to come from that kind of a space and work, or that challenge would work as an opportunity or sometime. Thank you.
Okay, no, thank you so much. So that's just a glimpse of the work that we do, and so the emphasis of our theoretical framework influence how knowledge is constructed and continue to be constructed with people as knowledge bearers, as knowledge constructors. And this relates to the work of our Utata Mandela, to say we are capable of solving our own problems if we're given a chance to engage. So engagement, it's not passive participation. And this influence our methodologies that we use when doing research, even our students, to say we need to engage and decolonize even the way we do research in these communities, because we do research about them without them. Agenda 2030, it's very clear. Agenda 2063 is very clear that we cannot talk about them without them. So our research is doing research with people, not about them or on them. So the critical response, therefore, is that we need alternative frameworks. We need alternative and relevant context-based, responsive theoretical philosophy and methodologies in order to do research which is meaningful, to do research which is transformative, and most importantly, to do research which is emancipatory. So it is within this critical stance that we are saying Ubuntu philosophy and positive psychology, they emerge as a powerful counter frameworks to the existing frameworks that are used when doing research with the marginalized communities. And they restore that relational ethics. We are human beings, we are relational beings. From birth, there is that relationship. There is contextual understanding and collective responsibility, of which all who are marginalized in this neoconservative paradigm. So through these lessons, we reposition ourselves and the work that you do as a social and communal good, and where universities and schools and everybody else should work together to foster the flourishing, not just academic performance. So I think that's our story that we want to share, and we are really interested to engage and to learn from other people how they do, and what is the Ubuntu. So like my sister said, Ubuntu, Butu, in all the languages in South Africa, everybody can translate that, and it's all about human-centeredness. So our work is within the human-centeredness. Umuntu, gabantu. Motu, kimotu, kabatu. I am because you are. And yes, the last slide. As a way to round up, this is one of the famous picture I'm sure you've come across. And we need to move from just equality and equity, it's very important, but towards a total liberation. I'm sure when you look at this picture, equality, this is what equality means, So, and equity, yes, we are addressing, we are providing some support where needed, but who's still at a better standing? The short guy has got resources, fine, but he is more vulnerable, because should anything happen to these resources, he's going to shatter. The tall guy is still standing firmly, okay? So we are saying our research should be emancipatory. As a global village, we all have to remove the barriers to teaching, learning, and development, because sometimes we provide resources, but they are systematic, they are political, barriers that still need to be addressed. Unless we remove barriers to learning and development, then we'll never see that global village that we all aspire to. So on that note, I think that's our story, and that's how we want to share. Nkosi, I'm Sutu. So Arnaldo, today you should learn Kialeboha.
Nkosi.
Dosi, obrigado, and we really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you so much.
Danke. Deve ser.
Que ela é boa.
Thank you so much. Vou pedir para translate, please.
Okay, again, thank you so much, professors. Yes, me and Zandile. So Professor Monica is elaborating a question. I will help with the translation.
Fiquei muito interessada no estudo de vocês, no trabalho de vocês, no projeto de vocês, que faz uma relação muito bonita entre a filosofia e a psicologia, né? Essa base a que vocês se referem no tocante à questão da moral e do desenvolvimento mental me interessa essencialmente.
Just to translate a little bit, yeah, Professor Monica says that she's very interested in the work that you are doing. She thinks it's very, very beautiful how the way that you connect psychology and the ethos, and so she's very interested in this kind of research.
E eu tenho duas questões de ordens diferentes para as colegas, né? Uma delas diz respeito ao suporte, eventualmente, como que vocês vivem o suporte para essa forma de pesquisa aí na África do Sul, né? Como que vocês percebem esse suporte ao projeto de vocês? O suporte da universidade e da política.
So, professors, she has two questions to ask. The first one is, how do you get, or do you see the kind of support that you have, or how do you receive the support from your institution or the government, the policies support in order to develop this kind of research? This is the first question.
E a segunda questão é mais específica e que me interessa particularmente para os meus estudos, que eu também trabalho numa perspectiva ecológica, da ecologia dos processos. Queria saber quais são as referências que hoje vocês utilizam para esse estudo, para esse aporte, vamos dizer, teórico. Eu gostaria de saber.
The second question is related to the framework that you use, and she understands that you work also with the ecology of processes in education. So she's very interested for her own research to know what are the references or the framework that you use in order to develop this ecology, the process of ecology of processes in your research.
Thank you so much.
Okay. No, thank you so much for the words of encouragement. And so I'll take maybe the first one on the support. Yeah. There are different platforms in terms of support. But particularly for this work, at this point, there's no financial support. We are still trying to apply from the National Research Foundation. So that's a bigger national body that provides scholarship from undergrad, but it's an application, and it depends um, on the merits and on the availability of funding. So that's one. So it is still at a small scale, because um, to do this kind of research, especially in those communities, you really need funding. So currently, funding is still a problem. So we are still trying to apply. Sometimes we go Erasmus, we go. Last year, we still try to apply, and we haven't got really funding to really do the very impactful in a larger scale. So at this point, I think, and then within the university is you only get what they call the seed funding if you are a new employee, but also it doesn't apply to everybody, okay, and it doesn't apply to all the universities. So in other university, when you join, there is what they call seed funding. So just like a seed, so that you can start doing your research or attending a conference. So that's where we are in terms of funding. So the best way is to mobilize other colleagues, where we try to put together a big funding, especially going interdisciplinarity, but it's still a train smash, because people also work in different ideologies. So far, it's just the two of us. And believe me, when Zandi got funding, I didn't have funding by that. So she opted not to use the flight, to use a car, so that she can accommodate me. So it's not about the luxury of having your own room. So we had to share the room, because we work within those frameworks to say, I am because you are. And I think those are some of the frameworks that guide us in our value system, so that for us to learn, we need to create pathways. So that's one typical example, just to demonstrate the issue of Ubuntu and around the financial institution, which is not easy, because most people, they don't share, especially when they got money, But if you work within this, then it affects even your thinking, to say, if I want to expose my student, I would opt not to use a flight. I'll use a car, because I can take at least 3 of my students. Because without creating this access, it will remain a theoretical aspect. Yeah, so in terms of the theoretical, I don't want to dominate, but in terms of the references, the work that we have sent, like we said, we'll share some of the references that we worked on. But in terms of the ecological, there are a lot of ecological models. For example, in systematic research, people like Bob Brenner, the I think it's one of the dominant research that has been done.
The same.
Yes, yeah.
The same.
Yes.
Yuri Brenfenbern. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Collaborative leadership. Yes.
And I guess what we want to do, we don't want to, we sort of like looking at how we grew up, because the issues of Ubuntu, it's something that we learned from our roots even before we were exposed to the theories. So when we craft our frameworks, we're looking at what we can do practically more than, and then the theorists come later, because they are theorists on all these aspects. But the important thing, especially if you're talking about the issues of Ubuntu is more practical. It's loud when it's practical than reading the books. So the frameworks that we are using here, they emanate from how we grew up, and then we look at the theories that are already there and see how we can put these together to move forward and make a theory on it. Thank you.
And just to add, what I've noticed also, for example, in the University of the Western Cape, the overarching framework is the framework of social justice, and at University of Free State is the notion of ethics of care, and in the University Nelson Mandela. They work within the humanizing pedagogy, and I'm
Sim.
sure they know a lot from Paul Freire and the like. But and I'm sure you'd understand that this also are context based. So in South Africa, the issues of social justice had to do with the legacy, the past. So those are some of. So you'll find like every university has got an overarching framework, but for us, really, it's about the core principles of human, our individual humanity does not take place in a vacuum. So it's about relationship. It's about we are inseparable as human beings. So and it's nice to come up with those which are not even existing. To come up with, especially now in the digital world. So how do we bring human aspect, humanizing pedagogy in the digital world? But social justice, ethics of care, agentic capabilities, collaborative leadership, those are some of the frameworks that permeates the work that we do. I don't know if we try to answer.
Bom, seguramente, né, nos nossos países, tanto no seu país, né, no país de vocês, como aqui, nós vamos ter que descobrir os nossos próprios caminhos, né, os nossos próprios caminhos de pesquisa. A minha pergunta foi assim, talvez até para provocar um pouco essa resposta, né, porque somos muito guiados por uma literatura que às vezes não se adequa às nossas questões mais profundas, né? E eu entendi que vocês têm questões tão profundas quanto as nossas aqui, e muito específicas, né? Muito obrigada. Thank you.
I'll just to try to summarize a little bit. Professor Monica is saying that certainly you in your country and we here in Brazil, we have to learn together to build our own ways of doing this kind of research and researching these topics. And she thanks very much the opportunity. Yes.
Muito obrigada. Não sei se nós conseguimos fazer algum tipo de interlocução.
Mônica, tem duas perguntas no chat, tem dois comentários no chat, um sobre referência.
Muito obrigado. Estamos ansiosos por maiores novidades. We hope.
Yeah. There is some comment on the web chat from the YouTube. One person is looking for where they can find some references about your research publications, and I guess that is on the ResearchGate. Is it possible to find your published papers, right?
Yes. And I know this morning we had some glitches. So we're gonna send you also the final slide with references, so that you can also will also include the work that you have done around Ubuntu and positive psychology, and where they can find the work.
Okay, thank you. So if you are able to include these references on the last version, we can share with these people that are attending here, and they can catch your publication. And or if they are anxious, they also could try to find you in your profile on the ResearchGate, right?
Yes, and LinkedIn. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Aguinaldo,
And
I'll just to check if here in the auditorium if there are any questions. Perguntas aqui no auditório? Não?
Tem uma outra no chat, se vocês puderem ler, para mim a visão tá bem ruinzinha.
Eu vejo só um comentário, eu não estou vendo outras perguntas aqui.
Okay.
Tem um
No,
último
thank you.
comentário.
Thank you so much.
Obrigado and boa noite.
Siabulela and goes.
Muito
So
obrigada.
hear more and no going forward. Yes.
Thank you so much.
No,
Thank you.
obrigado.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Ele
professors.
Borja,
Goodbye.
for your willingness to cooperate with us. And let's move forward with the discussion about the MOU between our institutions to fostering the mobility of students, professors, and academic staffs, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Obrigada.
Acho que só